There we go. Hello, everybody. Welcome to Breaking the Barriers, where we discuss the tough topics without hating each other afterwards. Still loving each other because that's the American way. Unite, don't fight. Let me throw that out there. Yeah, red, white, and blue, baby. USA all day. So, with me as always today, we got my man, Pat. Say what's up, Pat, who is right
What's
here,
up?
literally 5 minutes away from me. Just throw that out there to everybody. I'm going to get him after we're done with the show. I'm going to pick him up. And then we got my main man right here. And Be the Chain, Russo. Got my two
Got
main
street lights right behind me. I kept those on purpose.
That's right. Street lights in the house. Because he's street. All right.
Before Patrick leaves, I think you guys should do this thing where you actually have computers next to each other and you go in for the hug and you're actually in the same frame. I think that'd be really tight.
I'm with it.
We can pull that off.
Oh God, Deirdre!
Oh
dang
my
it.
God, Deirdre! Come on, come on. That's not.
I can't see the comments. This sucks.
He's making fun of me for calling Anthony Epstein. Anyways,
Again. Oh, I saw that in the last one too.
yeah.
By the way, Epstein did not kill himself. Just got to throw that out there.
We're not getting conspiracy. All right, look, guys. Before we get started, prayers go out again to Dr. Frank. Dr. Frank is in the hospital right now in ICU with double pneumonia, right?
Double pneumonia with COVID, yeah.
And COVID. Okay, so yeah, I was a COVID denier, I guess, but it is serious. First person I know that actually has had COVID, legitly, and yeah, it's scary. So I'm wearing a mask when I go in places from now on, just because I don't want to infect anybody if I ever catch it, and I don't want to be infected. So just a little preventive measure. I still got my feelings about mask and stuff, but yeah, praying for Dr. Frank. If you guys could do that, please pray for Dr. Frank. Also, I want to say thank you again to everybody. You guys don't know how much I appreciate you and your support. You have been blowing this thing up, and literally everything that's been happening and all the help that we've been able to give out as streetlights is only because of all you streetlights that make it possible. Because it's not me. This is bigger than me. This is definitely God moving in everybody's lives, regardless of how you feel about religion and all that. Take that all out of the equation. I believe in higher power, and I believe that He's moving and doing everything. So that being said, we're gonna get into today's show. It's gonna be a good one. I gotta bring on a guest. Also, I want to introduce you guys to somebody who actually went out of their. Matter of fact, I'm gonna let Patrick tell you guys about this guest that I'm about to bring on. Everybody say hello to Miss Kristen. Hey, Kristen.
Hey.
How are you?
Hi, Christian. How are you?
I am like on cloud 9 right now.
Awesome. I want a person to say.
No, thank you guys. Like, this has really changed my life for the good.
Good. I'm glad to hear that. Pat, go ahead and give the introduction. Tell them who Kristen is.
So, Kristen lives outside of Atlanta and had reached out to me and was letting me know a whole bunch of stuff that was going on down there early on. And we've spent time on the phone. We've talked a few times, and she's actually really great. I love her to death. You're amazing. And when we started getting ready to do this fourth thing and I was coming here, she messaged me about wanting to help out in a way. So she had 300 wristbands, like the one I'm wearing, made up, and she had them shipped to my house because we didn't have a P.O. box yet, so I could bring them on the plane and bring them here. And so that's the reason why we have these right now. And this isn't somebody who's ever asked to do anything. She just chose to do it, and that's really awesome.
Yes. Kristen, I say a million times thank you. I appreciate it. Straight up.
And
you did not have to do that, and you did. So thank you.
I'm glad
for
to
the
help.
record, Kristen, I did not make it to the post office before I left home, but I do still have a few of them for you. So just so you know, they will be coming.
Thank you.
You're
Kristen,
welcome.
put your cheek up against the side closest to me. No, the other way. The other way.
Oh, don't do it. Don't do it. Don't do it. Oh!
I'm like,
Let's go. Okay. So tonight we're gonna have her as a guest panelist on the show. She's gonna be a part of it as long as she can stay. As long as you can stay, you're gonna be on. We got some discussion. I'm gonna leave this show to be taken over by Patrick and Anthony Russo. They're gonna be the new hosts, and I'm gonna be the guest. So you guys bring up the topics that we're going to discuss today.
Okay, so well, Kristen, since you're here, and I'm curious because I haven't gotten an update from you in a while, and Atlanta was getting a little bit crazy there for a little bit. Anything new going on in Atlanta?
It's been quiet. I've heard that there's been several murders. I understand there was a child. I haven't really been looking into it too much because I kind of had to take a break from it for a second. But I think it has gotten maybe a little better as far as the police that are calling out. I don't think there's as many, but there still is a good bit. That's about all I know.
That's actually good because when all those guys were not calling in or were calling out and not showing up, that's a pretty rough time for everybody. Russo, you wanted to talk about the Tic-Tock Girl. Let's talk about her. Let's go ahead and do the backstory.
Well, yeah, there's two things in the box that I think are, if you're gonna, it's so funny. It's like, how are we going to come up with new stuff to talk about? Oh, it's 2020. There's new stuff every damn day.
It's not hard.
No. So two things. Today they came out with the Black national anthem for the NFL, and I've seen more Black people saying that they're against this weird thing than anybody else. And then the other one is, the Tic-Tock Girl. If anybody saw it, it's a young Asian woman that graduated from Harvard that worked for Deloitte. She had a funny video. She's clearly very liberal, but she had a very funny video that was like her talking to a Trump supporter, which I did find ironic because she was talking to herself and being both people. But I thought it was really interesting that she did not let the Trump supporter speak because she spoke over herself. Regardless, she did a good job in terms of production. It was quality. But then she did a video saying, if anybody comes at me as an all lives matter person and it says all lives matter, I'm going to stab you. I'm going to stab you in the face. I'm going to stab. And she did this thing and then she goes, and then you know what? That was bad enough. And then she did the whole, I'm going to watch you bleed out. And while you bleed out, I'm going to say, look at my paper cut and go, do all cuts matter? So anyways, she lost her job, etc. And she did all these videos blaming Trump supporters for her job. Now she was threatened with violence and other stuff, which sounds terrible. And there's no way to condone that whatsoever. But in terms of losing your job, you have to be self-responsible for the things you put on the internet, which we're seeing both sides. And that's all I can say to it. What do you guys think about it? Do you think that this helps with cancel culture because it brings them all to the forefront? I don't know.
Personally, I think, first off, she was wrong. Let me just say that. She's very wrong for that. That wasn't cool at all. You don't do that kind of stuff. That's too much. I get what you're trying to do, but that wasn't cool. The way that she went about it. Her being fired for that. Did she do the post while she was at work?
No, she was on her way home from work, but no. Okay, no, she was just walking is when she did it.
I don't think that she should have been fired from her job, personally. But it depends on the field she works in, I guess. Well, what does she do for a living?
Deloitte is a financial services firm where they have people that trust them with their money and different things like that, and insurance and stuff like that.
Okay, then she definitely needed to be fired because if somebody came in with the opinion shared that she was speaking out against, potentially they might think that she wants to kill them. So definitely should have been fired. So don't disagree with that. She was wrong. I don't really have too much in defense of what she did. That wasn't cool at all. Especially, come on. I mean, all the stuff going on right now, and you want to that's the angle that you want to use. Really? You couldn't shed light on that in a better way. But hey, what do you think?
Harvard graduate. That's just the I don't know. Anyways.
Kristen, what do you think?
I think that there's so much violence going on right now from every angle, and I definitely don't think it was the right move because I'm against anybody on either side, being violent or being angry at each other. I feel like every time that something like this comes up, it just adds to the tension and the hate more and more and more. And I feel like when are we going to explode? When is America just going to explode,
Right.
I agree with you. I agree. It's interesting for me because I actually reached out to this woman. I sent her a message. I haven't got a response yet, and I'm hoping that she will reach out and see it, and maybe we can have a discussion with her. As far as her video goes, I thought it was a lot of the same kind of things that we're seeing on the extreme sides of either side. But the liberals are really aggressive at this particular moment, and I'm not exactly sure as to why. As far as her losing her job, yeah, well, when you put stuff out in a public space like that and you work with the public, you have to expect that there might be some consequences for that. I like what you said though, Anthony, the fact that this is a Harvard graduate, and that's kind of telling, and spewing these kind of things, and threatening to kill people for their opinion. Ladies and gentlemen, like, this is America. This is based on the idea that you can think and be free to say whatever you want to say without fear of, somebody coming and stabbing you and watching you bleed out because you have a different opinion.
Right.
And we're seeing more and more of this, right? Like there's an escalation in tempers right now. And I think it's really important that everybody, like I said in an earlier video, just take a big, deep breath. Like, let's relax a little bit and let's pull it back. This is a little bit much at this point. So that's my opinion on it.
I think there's a lot of positives. Just to sum up, Mike, the positive.
Absolutely.
What happened by her getting quote unquote canceled. And there's a bunch of people going on Deloitte's website like, don't fire her. There's a big difference in what she did and what other people did in terms of like the guy from K-State that had the joke that was poorly timed, that his joke had no actual overt racism in it. She also used the Asian girl used the word, don't use your caucasity at me, which is, it's so Harvard. But the concept is, the only way things start to change in this sense is when both sides realize they're affected. So cancel culture has been very targeted towards the right side or towards the conservative side. And once it starts bleeding to both sides, eventually people will maybe, hopefully, look at each other and go, yeah, we got to drop it. So the positive, what?
Cancel culture?
Cancel culture. So that's like changing the name of Aunt Jemima. That's like when they canceled the TV show Live PD. That's called, like, cancel culture is the summary term for anything canceling that is not politically fitting an agenda or fitting correct. So hopefully that'll start bringing that to an end when both sides get affected. But there's a huge difference, by the way, between threatening lives and between somebody making a poorly timed joke. So
right.
Yeah.
I agree.
But you can't go around threatening people. Like, I don't care if you're on the right or the left. If you're going to threaten somebody over their opinion, it really speaks to how little you understand about what this country's founded on, right? Freedom of speech is a huge part of America. We should have the ability to speak to each other and be honest and open with each other. Now, she could have just said she supports Black Lives Matter. Like, there's nothing wrong with that. Nobody's threatening to kill her over that. But for her response to be, the next time I hear all lives matter, I'm literally going to stab you.
Yeah,
I got to be careful around her. That's what I just.
Yeah, well, hopefully she'll reach out and she'll respond to the message, and maybe we can have a conversation with her, because I've seen in the comments a lot, people are wanting us to have conversations with people that drastically disagree with us, and I want all of you guys to know that we want that too. It's not quite as easy as you think to get people to come on and have a conversation with us.
I'm working on it. We're gonna get there. Yeah, that's crazy. How do you guys feel? I meant to bring this up. How do you guys feel about the statue thing, with everybody trying to take Jesus out of the statues and out of pictures and all of that? I want your guys' personal opinions.
I think looking at it from nice signal there, Russo. I think denying the fact that this country was founded on Judeo-Christian, morals and foundation is a mistake. That is exactly what we were founded on. And the Constitution states, the separation of church and state. And I think that's what people are kind of leaning towards, but maybe they're misunderstanding what that separation is. That separation means that church isn't going to have authority over our representation in Congress and stuff like that. We have freedom of religion also. So whether you believe in Jesus or Muhammad or whatever, like I don't care which one it is, everybody has a right to worship whoever they want to worship. That is their personal choice. And none of those rights should be infringed. And what would be the turn? Like, what would people say if we were talking about tearing out all the Muslim mosques in America? Because that's essentially the same thing. If we're going to do away with Jesus, then what's next? And so anybody that supports these things that has a different point of view, like than mine, for example, I would ask yourself, once Jesus is removed, what's next? Because what's the next thing that's going to be offensive? And it starts a pattern that I really don't like.
Yeah, like that. What about you, Russo? What you think?
The Jesus one to me is odd. Like that one, I think is almost a little on the outlier group. I think that's on more the extreme. So it's like the extreme ones are the ones that want like Abraham Lincoln and Jesus that want tore down because Abraham Lincoln had a couple slaves, but then ended slavery. So it's kind of weird. Jesus won because he was white or black. We don't know. That one's a little. It's to me that's the outliers that are against it. Like what's really odd, like the black national anthem, I think is the outliers, and we're almost.
Yeah, I wanted to touch on that too.
We'll get it.
We'll get there.
Yeah, we're pandering. We become a society pandering to outliers instead of the core believers of like how to actually make change. And it's like my buddy was going to do a video of this. He's like, we want social justice, and here's like, here, look, it's a new bottle for Aunt Jemima. Like we want to start discussing, systematic racism. It's like we're going to take down Abraham Lincoln statue. Like, no, these are not what we're asking for. The outliers are asking for it. People just want to actually have a discussion and create change. So it's to me, it's silly and it's counterproductive.
How about you, Kristen?
I'm kind of conflicted. I mean, I think it depends on what statue specifically you're talking about and what it represents. The specific Jesus one. I don't think that they should take him down. But at the same time, I do think that there is a misrepresentation there because after studying the Bible, I do know that he was whitewashed. So
definitely, I agree.
Maybe there's another way we can make that known. I mean, without maybe somewhere to compromise in the middle, because I definitely think that tearing down all the white Jesuses is going to create a big problem for a lot of people.
I get you. You're right.
Maybe leaving them will cause some for others. So maybe there can be some sort of compromise.
You are so soft-spoken. I love it.
But she carries a big stick.
My opinion about it is I touched on it a little bit before when we were talking about it. I don't know if it was on my show or your show, Russo, but statues. First off, when you get into religion or God, in every holy book, it tells you not to have a statue, not to have a graven image, not to make any carvings of any person. And it's specifically for these types of issues that are happening right now. People end up worshiping these statues and loving the statues more than they love God. And you have people that are angry because they feel like they put an image of God in the form of like every picture that you see of Jesus that's in the church, that's in a statue. It's always a picture of Caesar Borgia. And that's the image that they use. It's not an actual depiction of Jesus. It's just a picture that they use. Like she said, it was used to whitewash. No one knows exactly what Jesus looked like, first off. Jesus obviously wasn't white because he was from the Middle East or Northern Africa, which means he's probably about my color, I would assume. Not super black, not white, like middle ground, like a Palestinian. If you ever seen a real Palestinian from Palestine, they're about my complexion, maybe a little darker. And yeah, but we can't even say that back then that would have been the color because you don't know. At that time, Rome was over there. So he could have been mixed. He could have been just like me. He could have been a little lighter than me. You don't know. We don't know what he looked like. So for them to raise the issue of, okay, we're going to tear down these statues because he looks white, right? And they don't like that he looks white, or they don't like him because he's Jesus. You know what I'm saying? Some people just don't like it because it's Jesus, and they don't think that Jesus should be worshipped. Personally, I think everybody is entitled to their own opinion about Jesus, or about religion itself. I think that we shouldn't get so caught up on the messenger. I think that we should just receive the message. All right. So these statues that are put up, if them people want them statues, and you know in your heart, like, hey, yo, I don't agree with the statues because I read the Bible and it says not to do this, then fine, you stand on that and just don't partake in it. Don't but tearing it down and defacing property, we can't stop people from doing what they want to do with their property, with their land. I never think that it's okay to break the law to get your point across unless, it's an unjust law. And we can have statues. People can put up statues, whatever they want. They can put up pictures of whatever they want. That's their right. But for people that say that they worship God or that they believe in God, to be the ones out there tearing down statues and all these things, I'm conflicted on it, like I say, because in some sense you get people that read the Bible and they're like, well, God, had people go in there and tear down all types of statues because it was idolatry and it was pagan worship and it was this and it was that. So he told them to tear it up. And then you get the ones that's like, okay, they believe, but they're like, I ain't getting that message to go and tear down anything. God ain't put it on my heart to go tear down anything. And these people aren't really necessarily doing it for God. They're doing it because they hate that he looks white. They hate that it's a white Jesus, or they hate that it's a Christian monument. All right. So, I personally don't agree with tearing down statues. Like you said, Kristen, I agree with what you said. Compromise. Maybe have some compromise. If you're going to have a white Jesus over here, then maybe put a black Jesus over there, or a Korean Jesus over there, or whatever. Whatever you want. I don't care about statues. Don't bother me. I don't care what they tear down as long as nobody gets hurt. And yeah, that's my thing about it. But personally, faith to faith, if you call yourself a follower of Christ, or a good Muslim, or a good Jew, or whatever, then you're supposed to go by the laws of the land. That's in each holy book. Follow the laws of the land. And breaking the laws, never going with the laws of the land. So, yeah, if you're going to be all in it, be all in it. That's my standpoint. Moving forward. Anybody got anything else?
I wanted to say, I don't, that you talked about the, engraved image and stuff like that. I think there's a big difference between a statue representing Jesus and worshiping false idols. I think it's kind of gray, in my opinion. That's all.
No, in the Bible, literally in the Bible and in the Quran and in the Torah, it tells you specifically to not make any carven image, any statue, or any engravings. It's in the law in Leviticus. It's literally in there.
I'm gonna have to look that up because I don't remember that one.
Front to back, bro. Front to back. But then again, you can go into it. Also, it tells you not to wear linen that is of mixed cloth. Like, you're not supposed to mix polyester with cotton, and wear that. And it's a lot of different things. But them laws were for the Jews. So you can get into all that if you want to. But yeah, all those things, it's technical. But the 10 Commandments is the 10 Commandments. And the reason why I feel in my heart why God said not to have those things and not to do those things is because it caused conflict. It will cause conflict with people, among people that believe in the same thing. Because here you got
Sure.
Christians like, God's black. No, God's white. First off, God is a spirit. God is a spirit. You know what I'm saying? Christ himself is the perfect embodiment of law, God on earth. That's just me. That's my faith, my belief. Not to say that, anybody got to share that belief, but I look at it a little bit differently than a Christian. I look at it a little bit differently than a Muslim. I look at it differently than anybody.
I think I said this. Oh, sorry, Anthony. 1 second. I think I said this once before. Like, we were souls before we came here, and we'll be souls when we leave here. And on a soul level, we are all the same. So regardless of what image we pick or choose, it really is. It doesn't matter. Like you said, it's about the message.
I think you should clarify this on the side, because I know I used to wear a cross too. You wear a cross. Somebody said, "What about a cross? What about wearing a cross?" You have it on now. Yeah. How is that different than an image of Jesus?
Yeah, like I said, it goes all in preference, because when I wear my cross, I'm not wearing my cross to, like you said, worship it or nothing like that. It goes against the 10 Commandments. It does. I'm not perfect. No one's perfect. I like my cross. I got my cross before I started studying as much as I study now and knowing the things that I know. But I like it. In the moment that it would become offensive, like say I go somewhere and this cross causes conflict with somebody, I'm going to put my cross inside my shirt, not because I'm ashamed of my faith, but because I'm not supposed to be having this thing on in the first place. I'm not supposed to wear this technically if you want to go by the law. I'm not. But I'm not a real religious person at all. I'm not. I'm a spiritual person. I believe in the message. I go by the message and I try to treat people the same way that I want to be treated. That's the two whole commandments right there. You want to sum up all of religion? Love God, love your neighbor as you love yourself. Do unto others as you want done to you. That's what I try to do. But
So
right.
for me, it's a little different. And this is a really great example of why you shouldn't assume anything about anybody, because sometimes it doesn't represent what people think it is. This cross was a gift to my oldest son Tristan when he was, I think, 6 or 7 years old, and it was from his great grandfather just before he passed away. And after his grandfather passed away, I was getting ready to go on a job, and I used to travel a lot for work, and I was away from him. And he asked me to wear it, and I told him, of course, no, it's his. He's supposed to wear it. And he looks at me and he says, "But Dad, it'll protect you and bring you home safe." And now, how, as a father, do you say no to that? And he literally told me to never take it off, and he's 17 now, and I've never taken it off. So
That I love. You told me that story. I want to touch on this real quick. Imagine your son being killed by a gun. Would you wear a gun as a reminder of how he was killed by the gun? Okay, let me give you a little backstory real quick. First off, the cross. Before it was used by the Holy Roman Empire for a symbol of victory. That's what the cross represents. In the Roman times, they carried this cross that I'm wearing, the cross that we know today. It's called a tropaeum. It was carried through any city that was conquered by the Romans. Okay. When Caesar passed away, they put his body on a tropaeum and left it up for his funeral games for 40 days. People don't know about this, but yeah, this is the true statement. And also, when it became used as a Christian symbol, because the word cross in the Greek is that it actually means pole. Okay. The cross is a symbol of victory because Christ conquered the grave. It's not symbolizing how he died because he didn't die. He died, but he didn't die. He was victorious over death. So that's what this cross represents to me. It's a victory symbol. This shows how he conquered the grave and came back to show everybody that God can do all things, even resurrection. So this cross does not mean death to me. It means life. That's just me.
Makes sense. I like that.
Yeah. Go ahead, guys. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, that
Well,
makes that makes sense on that.
what are some of the other things going on that you guys are interested in? There was something you wanted to talk about, the Black National Anthem, Cash?
We got Black National Anthem, and I definitely, I mean, with the Mount Rushmore is going to have a fireworks show. I don't know if it's tonight or tomorrow with President Trump, and he's not doing any social distancing or anything like that. Kind of bothers me a little bit. Kind of seems dumb. But we could talk about it. I don't know. I would love to talk about either that or the Black National Anthem kicking off the NFL season whenever it happens. You choose.
Let's do it. I want you guys to take over right now. I will be back. You guys are hosting the show. Kristen, I love you. Very nice to meet you. I will be back. Okay? You guys go ahead and take over the show. I shall return.
I don't know.
So I haven't. Well, let's start with the Trump rally, because I just read, like, just before we came on, I was just reading a little bit about that, and apparently there's a huge protest out in front of the blocking the presidential motorcade from getting in there, so he can't have the rally. What's interesting is you bring up social distancing. Well, the protesters aren't social distancing, so is it right on one side, not on the other? Like, what are your what clarifies when we're supposed to social distance and when we're not?
So here's my issue. And then we'll ask Kristen how she feels. So I talked about this on our show on Tuesday, and protesting is a First Amendment right. I understand. We're also going through a pandemic. We're going through a lot of stuff. You can think of conspiracy theories on why one brings the other and why we have a massive surge of cases, and some people are ignoring the protests. And they had a mask on. A mask isn't going to protect for that long, and then you combine it with the age group, et cetera. It's a big issue. So with that said, they were allowed to protest because we are in America. And then you bring in the aspect of certain celebrations that are being canceled. And I think there's just this weird sense of choice in this country that doesn't make sense. So you look at like Mount Rushmore right now and what they're doing amidst the perception of these increased numbers and not doing any special testing. And of course, if you read CNN, the way they spin it makes it sound like the most horrible thing in the world, but it doesn't make sense right now. And it seems short-sighted. The same to me as it's Gay Pride Month and doing all the gay pride parades. This isn't those weren't protests against injustice going on. Those were a celebration that happens throughout the year, just like a 4th of July festival, which are canceled in most places across the country, which Trump is now doing. So it seems like those fall under the same category that could have been avoided. That's my opinion on it. And I understand protests. I understand we have to realize the cause and effect, and the effect is going to be a drastic increase in cases. But we can't be short-sighted on the celebration aspect. I don't know. And I don't know if you can test that many people for temperatures out at Mount Rushmore. And then you add protesters to it. It's a whole nightmare that could have been avoided, or it can be avoided.
Kristen, what do you think?
None of it honestly makes sense to me of how they determine what we can and can't do. Like you said, the Second Amendment is obviously like one of our rights, so there's nothing you can do about that. If people want to protest, they can protest. I do wish that there was some more safe practices going on within the protest. When I went to my local Black Lives Matter
I like
rally.
Black Lives Matter. That's good.
Yes. There was a good bit of people being safe. There was also a good bit of people that weren't being very safe. And it kind of upset me because I feel like everybody should matter enough to to be careful. Be careful out there. We still don't really know what's going on. I mean, we're getting lies from every side, everywhere, and the doctors can't decide what's going on. The president, nobody knows. So, it doesn't make sense to me. Our Governor Kemp, he opened up Georgia, and I think he let like bowling alleys go first before. It was crazy, the things that were allowed and the things that weren't. It made no sense. You could go to a bowling alley, but you couldn't go to a funeral. I mean, it made no sense at all. So I think that there's different narratives being pushed to us, and which one do you want to eat from? Pick your side.
You can make out with a stranger, but don't shake their hand.
Right. We can never shake hands again, but the kids are going back to school. I mean,
yeah,
none of it makes sense.
Yeah.
So pick your narrative.
I get this. I can show you guys articles that I've read that paint a very, very good picture, or a very good image of why we need to wear masks. I can also point you to articles that paint a very, very clear and logical reasons why we don't need to wear masks. So there are arguments on both sides that make a lot of sense. But I'm curious though, Russo, because you seem to based on what you were saying, I was wondering, have you seen the new CDC recommendations on how we're contracting this, and that what they were talking about, it outside's not really an issue anymore. You're not going to contract it unless you're in an enclosed area with an infected person for a relatively extended period of time. This idea that you're just going to walk by somebody on the street and catch it, the CDC themselves have come out and said that that's really not the case. So
I don't believe that.
Well,
so here's the deal. They've been changing the CDC and the WHO recommendations. If you go by the letter of the law right now, the WHO does not even mention face masks. And I'm not a huge fan of face masks, but I get the purpose, and I get that they help at least a little. They help a little, and it also provides unity between people and saying, why don't fight, just put a damn mask on. So I get that. But if you look at the CDC, it mentions social distancing is the most important mask right there. The WHO doesn't even mention masks, but it tells you how to wear them. Here's why the outdoor thing to me seems suspicious. So they originally in the beginning said outdoor should be fine, but they didn't open the beaches. They didn't open outdoor park. They shut all that down, right? So you would think that if outdoor isn't an issue, they'd close it. So outdoors, then they go, we're realizing now that heat does not kill the illness. And then they went back to, they said that in the beginning, unless it's over 130 degrees. And then they said that outdoor actually causes sometimes more spread. If you're catching wind, whatever it might be, if you're running and you sneeze, it goes. 20 feet, 30 feet, all these crazy things because we still didn't know somehow, even though we're spending billions of dollars researching it. And then all of a sudden the protests happen and they start going, outdoor is just fine. You're good. You're good. Outdoor has zero effect whatsoever. It does not make sense, especially since outdoor may be spraying it. But when you're outdoor bumping into people, scratching your eyes, wiping your sweat, touching those same people, and then you just said that it doesn't die in anything under 130 degrees, it doesn't make sense to me. Sorry.
Well, it's interesting because like the picture you just painted is a perfect example of how this particular subject is being used to further divide us as a people. Like we are not getting factual information on either side. Well, there actually is a lot of facts on both sides, just so you know. There's bits of truth on all of it, and I think that the reason they've kept it is muddy is the word I think I'll use, as it is for this one purpose, because you have people that are drawing lines in the sand saying you can't do this, and you know there are people being assaulted in restaurants for not wearing a mask, or being yelled at in public for not wearing a mask, or for social distancing and all these kind of things. But yet, at the end of the day, what I think is most important, and what I've always found interesting, is this is the first time in the history of man that we have quarantined the healthy. You know, typically we quarantine the sick, and I find that interesting, and I don't know why we're doing it. A lot of it, I'll be honest, does not make sense to me. It really doesn't. But I also see how this is being used as a tool to keep us as divided as possible. And here, what we're trying to do more than anything is create dialogue that will lead to us being able to come together and have these conversations without turning around and yelling and screaming and call each other names, right? So how do we address that? And I can't see the comments that are going on right now, but I'd be curious to know if anybody's got any ideas on how do we address that on a subject that we don't know the answers to. We don't have all the truths.
People are bringing up different, like there's one person talking about how there's word now that there's a more contagious version, which I've heard as well. At the same time, that same contagious version isn't as deadly or isn't as, I mean, this is coming from somebody that's got a friend now that's in the ICU, but the way to handle it right now, I think, is really to just be sensical. Like we shouldn't be shutting down the economy again, but let's be smart on the things we can give up, like bars and bowling alleys. Like if again, requesting the government to help the people that definitely can't open back up. If you own a nightclub or a bar, you should be part of a special bill that can actually directly affect those that definitely should not open. There is no point to them opening. There's no reason. But everyday businesses, they should be able to open. I was against the churches for a bit to be open, but right now I feel like if they do all the procedures and test temperatures and all this stuff going in, and they keep people separated at distance and maybe do an extra service, whatever it might be, do that. But just be halfway intelligent and don't be angry at people that have opposing viewpoints, because that anger psychologically has an effect on your health. It weakens the immune system. It's,
Well, so does using, Clorox wipes all over your house to kill everything in your house. It turns out bacteria is a very good thing for human beings. We have a lot of it on us, and when you kill it all, it weakens our immune system. Our immune system also gets stronger when we spend more time together. These are things we've known for a very long time. These aren't facts that anybody argues. But in this particular case, I think you're right. There should be some level of logic that we're capable of applying to this thing. I disagree with you on trying to stop people from going to church. I don't think that's a good idea. I think,
I don't want them to stop. I don't think it's bad on you. I think there was a period of time I felt that way. I think that if you abide by the right, if you start just doing all of them, I don't think, and somebody asked, when did this turn into a COVID-19 propaganda show? It's not. We're just providing information on, so the core message is we all have different thoughts, and we're all going to, and because we've all been given different information. So just realize that don't hate people that are uber masked, that are uber masked people, because they've been watching television to the point where they're scared to death. That's a human response. And likewise, there's those people out there that are like, I don't like wearing them. I just, whatever it might be kind to them, and maybe they'll find a middle ground somewhere. But when you do the whole I'm in America, I don't need to wear a mask, and you yell at people, it's not necessarily a way to bring unity to the group. Across.
Absolutely.
So I don't know where I was going, but I saw that one comment, and I had to just say this is not a COVID-19 propaganda show. We're just.
Can I give a perspective really quick on this topic?
Absolutely, Kristen. Jump in.
So, I suffer from severe OCD and anxiety, and one of my biggest triggers is germs and sickness. And so when this whole thing started, it really, really put me in a bad place. I mean, I was a person that I did not know anymore. I was lashing out at people, my own family, my own friends. I lost a lot of people. I mean, like, I'm talking about calling people, cussing them out. Like, it was bad. Like, I was going off because I wanted to control everybody, and I wanted to make sure that everybody was safe that I knew, because I couldn't stand to lose anyone. So I was in a really bad place. I was that angry person. I was that person saying, you know, the government should make us all wear masks. We should all have to be quarantined in our house. I was going off on everyone. And it got to the point where I was in such a bad place that I lashed out. I got angry. I said some things that I can't take back. And I got in my car and I went to the church where my son goes to school. And the pastor just happened to be there. And I got out of my car and I just started crying. And I was like, I'm scared. I am terrified. You know, like, I am mad at Kemp for opening everything back up. I think this is ridiculous. And I just laid it all on him. And I had such a peace after that. And he gave me such a different perspective on it, you know, that I cannot control everyone else. I have to respect everyone else's decision, because that is ultimately the best thing about being an American, is that we have that right. We have that choice. I have a choice to be terrified. I mean, I guess it's not really a choice. It's a disorder or whatever, but that is me. That is who I am. I'm scared. I am being cautious. But just because I am scared, it does not mean that everyone else has to be too. So it brought me to that. So I'm on the other side now, where I am like, okay, you know what? Like, I was wrong. I apologize to everyone that I went off on, you know, explain the situation, and I'm on the other side of that now. So it is an issue that is dividing us, and it might not seem like a big one, but it really is.
It is.
It's like if anybody's seen the movie Pleasantville, it's like the people that could see color and the people that couldn't. It's what has triggered in their brain to have that programming, why they think that it's hypersensitive and hyper needed, and then the other side is people that are seeing it in a different light and just like, you know, you need to boost your immune system. And I saw Mama Russo in the comments talking about we're addressing so much about how to treat this instead of some of the things we need to look at in the future, which is taking care of our bodies, eating healthy. Like this, if anything that this will show us coming out of the pandemic is we need to be better to ourselves and what we put in our body. We need to eat better foods, and then you're going to have the conversation about inequality in terms of race and socioeconomic. And that is, to me, when we start moving out of this and find ways of improving education, I think the food industry needs to really look at how to help the lower income Black and white families and really get in there, because that helps everything from mindset all the way to health, to the ability to fight off, because the African-American communities were most affected by COVID. So why not realize that, well, the foods that they're eating in these lower income, you just need to actually put education and make organic food or make healthier food more affordable to those people. That's a great way to even discuss a version of reparations if you want to go down that rabbit hole. But having the ability to provide them with health and avoid COVID type issues later in life. That's, I mean, personal opinion.
The most valuable thing any of us have is our health. You know, that is absolutely the truth. And Kristen, I agree with you completely. Like, I've always been on the side. I'm never going to attack anybody for their beliefs. I don't think that's productive. You know, and I understand people that are scared. I get it. But I also see that a lot of what we see in the media is designed to scare us. They want us afraid. And I choose not to be afraid. I'm not afraid. I've been healthy my whole life. I've overcome a lot of adversities. And, you know, if that is in my path and something that I have to deal with, then I'm going to deal with it. And I'm not afraid of it. That's just the way life goes, you know. And this idea that the government can somehow protect us from every micro thing in the world, like that's never going to happen. But the one thing I do know is I'm never going to treat anybody poorly because they see it differently. Even though I've had lots of people say things to me because, you know, wearing a mask on this plane flight over here was the first time I'd put one on. But I live out in the middle of nowhere, so why do I need one?
Yeah.
This has been interesting since I've been back on. I see you guys got into some whole different stuff here and ring to the comments. Yeah, you know, this whole thing with COVID, it has been an eye opener in a lot of different ways for a lot of different people. And I see people that said they're scared, you know, and I understand that. I get it. I totally understand being scared about everything that's going on with COVID, and it's crazy, you know, it is. And I myself, I had my own opinion about COVID before until I hear about Dr. Frank, who's in there with double pneumonia and COVID, and it's serious to him. So even no matter how you feel about, you know, whether they're fear mongering us or you disagree and think that it's not that serious, to some people it really is, because any sickness, if you're not healthy, it can affect your body in a way that it can be fatal. And we got little kids, like young kids and older people that are affected by this and people with health issues. So I'm going to start wearing a mask when I go out and I go in places. I'm going to wear the mask. Now, on the other side of that, um, I think that people should be conscious of what's going on when you watch the media. Okay, just because the media doesn't put all the facts out there doesn't mean that there's not real issues behind. There's not real thought behind it. Okay, and what I mean by that, for instance, you see how the media took the George Floyd situation and made it seem like all police are out to kill black people, and there's this big problem with police targeting black people, and we come to find out, okay, there's only been three African Americans that have been killed by the police this year. If we kept up the average of it, we'd have six by the end of the year. Last year was nine, and white people were killed 19. 19 people that was killed by the police that happened to be white.
Unarmed.
So unarmed. Unarmed. I apologize.
Yeah.
But just because they put the fear mongering in there and make people want to snap and go crazy over these issues doesn't mean that the issues aren't valid. It's just not as extreme as they made it. Yes, there is a problem with police brutality. We know that there's a problem when you have a person in a position of power that abuses their authority, but it's not as serious as they make it. But it's still an issue. COVID may not be a real big issue to people my age that are healthy, that take care of themselves. But and the death toll rising up and all these scary things that's happening with COVID. But for somebody that's elderly or not in good health, it is a really big issue. So they have a real reason to be scared. And people with younger kids, you have a real reason to be scared, because if your baby catches it, then you know they don't have an immune system built up to be able to battle it. So don't always think that the media is, I mean, I'm a firm believer that the media is BS, and they try to fearmonger, they try to race bait, they try to get people to be divided. But there is still real issue behind what the topic is. That's why it's a topic in the first place. Okay? So pay attention to it, but don't be vexed by it. Don't be overtaken by it. Don't let it consume you. Stay faith, man. Have faith and do what you can to prevent these things that happen to you. So you don't want to catch the coronavirus, make sure you're washing your hands. Make sure that you do wear a mask when you go around people where it's a large amount of people. You don't want to get beat by the police, don't break the law. You know what I'm saying? Same, you get what I'm trying to say there? It's like it's the same thing. I appreciate all of you guys that are tuned in right now, that have been tuned in, that always tune in, that share this stuff. I love you guys, and I'm not trying to cut the show short, but I know that everybody has things to do. I'm hungry. I haven't eaten anything, and we've been on now for a good almost an hour, which we're under time because usually we're on about an hour and a half, a little longer, maybe 2 hours. So, yeah, I appreciate everybody coming on. I appreciate everybody that's watching. Also, I see this comment down here. Where's it at? Boycott the media. Where'd it go? Where'd it go? It was just here. Anyway, boycotting the media. I think that that'd be a good idea. Another thing that I feel like would be effective in our cause for change and to make people be aware and to really do something profound. It doesn't always have to be violent. Boycott is a real thing. Boycotting is very effective. If you don't like the way things are, boycott it. We don't like the media, we don't like the news, boycott the media, meaning don't watch it. Don't watch it. Don't even put your TV on that channel so they don't get a view. You know what I'm saying? That's how we get them to start wanting to be honest. You don't like what you read in the paper? Don't buy the paper. If you feel like people are giving us wrong information, misinformation, there's ways that we can go about things without being violent. And I was watching something the other day, last night actually, Candace Owens. She made a valid point, very valid point. All right. See, back when Martin Luther King did his civil rights movement, um, you notice why? Do you know why he used nonviolence? Does anybody know why?
Go ahead.
He used nonviolence because let's say we would have went out there with everything going on, police brutality, right? Let's say the police brutality was as real as they make it seem and as strong a case as they present it as, right? And then we went out there and we started like how people are doing right now, looting, rioting, shooting at police, all these things, right? And we kept doing it. And then we have streetlights. Let's say streetlights pulls out there. We're going to do the same exact thing that they doing to us, and we're going to try to kill them and do all. But the media will take what we do and spin it and say these dudes are tyrants, they're terrorists, domestic terrorists, they're evil, they want to do this, 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 and that. Martin Luther King used nonviolence for the simple fact of, okay, we know what they're doing to us and we know that it's wrong. We're going to go out there and we're going to let it be seen and we're not going to fight back. We're not going to do the same things that they're doing to us. We're not going to do them back. So that way, when everybody goes out there and they see us being peaceful and then they still stay on us, then it becomes a good versus evil. These people came out here to do good, and you're meeting them with evil, with hoses and dogs and beating them in the head and all these things. The man ended up ultimately losing his life. And he showed the whole world seemed like this was a good man. He was just trying to do good, and the people that were with him were just good people, standing for something good. They didn't fight. And he shed a light. And he showed a world of racism that you didn't have to be that way just because you thought that this dude was less than a human, or you thought that he was how they portrayed him in the movies back then. When you seen a black person, they just want to rape and they want to kill and they want to steal. And he wasn't that. He was not that. He showed them, I just want peace. I love everybody. And even when they hit me, even when they hit me in the head with a brick, or when they turn the dogs on me and they put the hoses on me, I'm never going to be like them because I'm not what they think I am. Ultimately ending an era of racism, literally transform the world. That's what we need to do. That's what we need to do. Don't be like the people that we want to change. Don't be like what they show in the news. Don't do it. We are better than that. We're going to rise above that and we're going to show. Because I got a peace rally coming up in Lake Station on the 14th or the 18th. One of the I got to get the date right. And we're going to go out there and we're going to talk about all the things. We're going to talk about police brutality and cops that abuse their authority and join the force for the wrong reason. We're going to talk about black on black violence and the crime in the community. We're going to talk about all the things that are wrong that people are tired of and that make our living harder because of the few. Okay? And we're going to do it peacefully. I'm not going to get angry at anybody that doesn't share my opinion. I'm not going to cuss anybody out, or I'm not going to do anything negative to anybody that comes up to be negative. I'm going to meet their negativity with positivity. And as hard as this is for me, I'm going to tell you something. This is something I've been a strong, fierce man my whole life. I'm known for fighting growing up. That's what I did. I was known for fighting. I was a brawler. You all have my word. I'm not going to fight no more. I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to fight no more. In a sense of physical. Somebody hits me, I'm not going to fight. I'm going to turn the other cheek. I'm not gonna do it. I'm gonna show that we don't have to be like anybody else, and that if we can overshadow that hate with the love that we all got from one another in this community that we have with streetlights, we can be more. We can change the world the same way that Martin Luther King did. We don't have to. It's not cowardice to not fight. It's not weakness to not fight. Do you know what the definition of meekness is to me? Meekness is having power under control, knowing that if this man, and when I go out and give a speech, if this man punches me in my mouth and I can destroy him if I wanted to, and choosing not to. That's meekness, and people mistake it for weakness. So we're not weak. We won't be weak. We're going to be meek. For the meek shall inherit the kingdom of the earth, or the kingdom of God, whatever it is. However that verse goes, I got to look it up. But you know what I'm trying to say. Don't be like the world. Don't be like the world. Do not be conformed by the patterns of this world. Be transformed by the renewing of your mind. Change the way that you think. Change the way that you think. And then you'll be more effective than all those around you that think the same. And until we can change the way that we think and get people to think the way that we're trying to think, a united mind, a mind that's driven towards bringing people together, not dividing, we're going to see the change. We're going to be the change. You're going to be a street light. In a dark place, you're going to be lighting it up. That's what I got for you guys. And I love you all. Any final thoughts from you?
Right here. Yeah, so we didn't talk. So this is, now we're doing like teasers. So this is cool. We'll talk about the Black national anthem that they're potentially playing the first week of the NFL. We'll talk about that on Cash's next show. So stay tuned whatever night he does that. I know a lot of, what's that? When is it? When are we doing that, Cash?
What?
The next show?
Which one? The next show?
Yeah.
Not tomorrow, the next day. July 5th.
July 5th, yeah. We'll have a good 4th. Ultimately, people are always asking, because we talk about what's going on in the world and we talk about our opinions on it, but how are we, what do we do? What do we do? So as you've probably seen, we're trying to figure out how to take this massive following of Cash and his message of streetlights and a little bit of a combination of Patrick and I figuring out what to do and how to organize that across the country. Just stay tuned. Trust me if there is a fast way to do it, but ultimately the idea is going to be to have pockets of streetlights all over the country. And because we're only a few people, we've got an army of you guys that are wanting to help out this cause. And the easiest way to do it is to empower you to be the streetlights in your community. So we'll set up the organization of that so that you guys can all, and we'll constantly be sharing stories. It'll be constant positivity. I'll be sharing it on Be the Change. It'll be on Streetlights. So just stay tuned for the next week or so. And no matter how excited Cash gets about the t-shirts, just wait. We'll have those up on a website next week, and we'll start doing that because I saw in the beginning of the show, people were like, how do I? Just please wait. Otherwise, do you want Cash making t-shirts with the press, or do you want him giving messages on how to be amazing and uniting and all that stuff? So ultimately, have an amazing 4th of July. Remember, we still live in a phenomenal, amazing country. Yes. And we are better than what we are portraying ourselves as a country if we pay attention to the man to our left and to our right and to the women, all that good stuff. You are blessed people. We are amazing when we work together. Unite, don't fight. Have a great 4th of July.
Yes.
Very well said. Yeah, man, it's really hard because when we watch the news, we look on social media and all these things, we see all of this negativity and divisiveness and hate. But if you look a little harder, there is still way more good happening in this world than evil. And yeah, it sucks that you have to go and look for it. But like Russo shared a post today, and I shared it on my page, the one with the cops kneeling in front of the protesters and then everybody hugging and embracing. It was beautiful. And moments like that happen all the time across this country. And I hear from a lot of you guys, and there's a lot of really positive things happening here. This is still America. We're gonna be okay. We're gonna make it through this. We're gonna figure it out. So don't let your hearts be troubled. Don't let your minds be ruled by fear. Have confidence in what's happening and that we're gonna move forward through this. There's a plan for this. Um, Cash made mention the other day about all the stuff that we have overcome in this country, and this is just going to be one more cliff note in history. But what I would love to see myself is that we use this cliff note in history to build a United States of America, a united people of America. Like, no more with the divisiveness. Like, I'm tired of it. We will not be divided, and that's the
Right.
attitude we need to take. We
That's
will
right.
not be divided from any of us, from any group of people in this country. We are all in this together. So that's my message, and I love you guys.
Fellas, I appreciate you coming on.
Thank
Let's go
you.
get some food, bro. I'm hungry.
Got you.
Hey,
Got you.
Robin Box, hit me up with the message because I want to make sure we get, because she's a nurse in Australia. So hit one of us up, and I'll try to look for you in the messages. Super interested to talk to you.
Gotcha.
Absolutely, Robin.
All right, guys. All right. I'm gonna leave you guys with a final thought. Yeah, united, not divided. Unite, don't fight. That's what we need. Okay. Right now, the world is weird right now, man. The world is really weird, and people are going crazy. Straight up. I don't know if it's because you've been cooped up in the house because of COVID, or if it's with all the things that they put in the media about what's going on with the police brutality and racism and all these things. I want you to remember something. Tomorrow, Independence Day. It's our American Independence Day. All right. That's when we broke away from what was tyranny to us, from somebody that was, I guess, ruling us, if you want to call it that, with England, right? Am I getting it right? England, Britain, whatever. I want us to use this day symbolically tomorrow to break away from the narratives that they push on us that divide us. Tomorrow, we are all Americans. All of us. All of us come from a bunch of people that came from somewhere else and settled in a land with a vision, with a dream that this country will be a safe haven for people, a dream, straight up. It's supposed to be a fantasy land. So let's break away. Let's break away from everything that divides us. Let's break away from what the news tries to do to us. Let's break away from anything that divides us and declare our independence again. We are free of the fear of the media. We are free of the narratives of divisiveness. Tomorrow we're independent and united in this country under one banner of unity, peace, love, under God. Let's get back to God. I don't know what religion you are. It doesn't matter to me. But you know what God is. If you believe in God, then you believe in unity. You believe in love. Okay? So let's get back to that. Let's unite and just love each other. Leave everything else that divides us out of it. Let God speak through your heart. Let somebody see God in you. What is God but love? That's what God is. So tomorrow, our independence, we're going to do it again. We're going to be free once again from all the things that chain our mind down. Okay? We're together. If you guys need me, I'm here. Straight up, reach out. I want more of you to come on this show. I want more of you to be on this screen and talking with us. I want all of you to. So we're going to figure this out. All right? We are all here for each other. And it's got to stay that way. I hope everybody has a safe 4th of July tomorrow. Stay safe. Wash your hands. If you're going to be around people, wear a mask. All right? I love you guys. I cannot wait to meet you all face to face. One day it's coming. But tomorrow, remember, we're free. We're independent. We're coming back to unity, coming back to God. All right? Y'all have a great day.